We have arrived at our number one best Final Fantasy song of all time. I think if you were familiar with our group, this might not have surprised you, but I think it will come as a surprise to people who don't know us as well. Because some of the other candidates that you would think would be on top of a list like this, we saw earlier in the list. Like One Winged Angel would probably be number one for some groups or some individuals. It was number 9. Dancing Mad is very high up on a lot of people's list just because of the moment, the setting, all that jazz. We talked about it already. It was number 8. Number 1, I think, is here primarily because of a newer version of it. I don't think this would have been number 1 if that were not the case. It would have made the list probably in the mid-teens, I would guess, maybe the upper part of like the 11 to 15 range, but it wouldn't have been number 1. It is now, however. Spell it out with me. It is Jenova from Final Fantasy VII, or if you prefer the remake version, Jenova Dreamweaver.
Mm-hmm. And I absolutely do.
Interesting.
The only game that all 5 of us voted for, no one higher than 3rd, but it had 3 top 10 votes among it, and again, all 5 of us voted for it, so it accrued the most points. It only beat out Decisive Battle by 9 points still, but it was enough, I think, with all 5 people supporting it, that it got this spot.
I'll go first because I don't care about the song that much. Here's the point I will make, and then I'm sure I'll jump in again. I always do this where I'm like, I'm done, and then I won't be. 7 Remake was every song that I put from 7. There was not a version that exists now that comes from the original 7 anymore. Mm-hmm. The remake redid everything, and like 10 remakes were a little controversial because I think it was a lot of like sort of like synthy sort of
It
things.
was different, but not really better for most people.
Yeah. Everything's better.
Every single song.
We didn't get like the 7 fight song, right? I'm not crazy.
We did.
No, we did.
It was number 15.
Great. I'm glad we did. I remember
we didn't get the boss one. I was sad about that. You and I voted for it.
I was testing you all.
Airbuster?
Because that illustrates just the point that like 7 soundtrack. One of the things they did in that game that was so good, along with just improved gameplay, making the old version and the new both like matter, which was brilliant.
And a lot more space for the characters to breathe.
Yes.
Oh my God, yes.
All the music's better too, across the board. And that's
Yes.
really impressive because a lot of these are classics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So someone wants to talk about the like actual like Jenova and all that, like by all means. I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, this song, you cannot play the old Jenova song anymore.
I can. I just did.
No, you can't, Nick.
No, I'm sorry. The police are coming. They're on their way.
way.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
Nick. But the way that Jenova Dreamweaver just weaves in everything, the first stage feeling much like a dream with Jenova is controlling this entire scenario. Is like, you're just stuck in a dream. And then the second time, the Jenova symbiote is like, sorry, I'm gonna have to start to get serious, and it becomes a more full orchestral, actual what Jenova would sound like, and then you get to the third phase, and it's like Jenova is taking off the gloves, says, "Fuck you, fuck this. I'm still a piece of Jenova. You're going down," and it just goes balls to the wall, and yeah, it's nuts.
It's so good. I specifically put, I think, phase 3. I like there were some songs where I specified like specific sections of them, and this is definitely one where like the last section is kind of the culmination of like the previous versions, but it's also like incredibly fast paced, and it also just gets me super pumped. It is so great to listen to outside of the game as well, and also in the game in this fight. And I also like what this represents for Jenova, because like I always thought the bait and switch with Jenova and Sephiroth in the original was not super well done, but I really like here that they're introducing her a lot sooner and her impact in like Midgar, so then later on when she becomes like the full-on villain, it makes sense, and this fight is just awesome. This music is so good.
Let me fast forward a bit to get to that part, because
Yes,
I
please.
played the full Dreamweaver. I figured I owed you that much and not just pulling the original Jenova, although I'm with Nick for reasons I'll get to, but we get to this point. I think I've hit the timestamp right. No, it's a little further ahead.
I was gonna say this does not sound like the fast version. Here we go.
So they tease you for 9 minutes. We would call this edging if you're into the more sexual side of things. They just spend the whole 9 minutes teasing you with a part that you know is supposed to be coming. And this is why, for me, the original still matters. Dreamweaver's a better version, there's no question. But it plays at your expectations by teasing this background synth from the original the entire time. Without the original, this moment doesn't hit like this. It's still cool.
No way.
But it's everything you've been waiting for if you played the original, and most people who are playing the remake have, because now they're super excited for what's going to come and what's different. This plays on that expectation perfectly. Because now, again, you have other like allusions to different parts of the theme, and it's really well done. But it is Phase 3 where this finally takes off, and you go, okay, like, this is Jenova. We're done messing around. I do want to give a quick shout out to the original just because, like a few other songs we talked about, like a Dancing Mad or whatever, this is another track where I'm like, the audacity to make something like this in 1996. The absolute audacity of that madman Nobuo Uematsu, because what the hell is that track? What is that? The first time that hit, when you fight Jenova for the first time in 7, I was like, what is this? Like, what? What, I have space synth now in my Final Fantasy game? But it worked perfectly. It was a great fit for this weird creature that was maybe Sephiroth and maybe wasn't. Let's not talk about the story. We're not talking about that.
Well, that's what I was going to say. What a fitting theme for arguably the main antagonist of Final Fantasy VII.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there's a hot take for you.
Because Sephiroth is an anti-hero and Zack is dead.
Well, because it's like Jenova the whole time. We said we weren't going to get into 7.
No, we're not going to do that right now. We'll do that when we do the best games ever, because that's why it's not number 1. 7 too convoluted, too weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great song. That's my.
I would say though, the remade version is not my favorite version of the song. I actually, I mean, obviously it's kind of unfair to do this, but OC Remix actually did a album called Voices of the Livestream, and my favorite version of the song is actually Genova's Celestial.
That's a good one.
They threw in a few versions of it, and that one's my favorite rendition.
I'm probably the only person who's heard it besides you. I'm also probably the only person who's heard of OC Remix besides you. Maybe Doug. So.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Sounds neat.
It's an entire site devoted to video game remixes, which can be quite good, and sometimes they're just not your cup of tea, because sometimes I'm like, I just want to hear the original. I don't need somebody else's take on it, but they have some really well-done work sometimes, too. So that's it. That's the number 1. And I'm kind of pleased with it, to be honest. Again, it was the only one that got everyone to vote for it, the only unanimous selection, so it kind of makes sense up here. As an added bonus, I mean, we're going to talk in tomorrow's video. We have a bonus one coming Saturday for the whole, like, breakdown of how things went, what we thought about the overall list. But, like, it seems like a fitting end to me.